You are now in tune with
Mamba Radio.
Alright, what up, everybody? Thank you for tuning into Brown Mamba Radio. For those of you who don't know, my name is Jackson, and happy Monday to everybody out there. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed your weekend, and it was a long one. A lot happened this weekend, and I don't want to waste any more time, because I got to get to all of it, so let's get to it, starting, of course, with the NFL. So far, I've gone 8-5-1 with my picks. You know, it's all right. You know, all right for the picks. There's a couple that I'm sure a lot of people missed on. There were a couple that I was, glad that I made. And we still got the Monday night games tonight. But just being 100% honest, keeping it a buck with you guys, I don't really care about that game. But it was. It was just that kind of week for the NFL this week, and there's just that one weird weekend, looks like this was it. Starting off with the home teams, not really much to analyze from the first two, the Rams and the Cardinals and the Chargers and the Bills. Starting with the Rams and the Cardinals, that was just a good old-fashioned ass whooping. The Rams really just first home, his first home game, just had a bad Cardinals team coming into town, and they took care of business 34-0. Everybody played pretty much as well as they could across the board. Jared Goff did really well, 24 of 32 with 354 yards and a touchdown. Also threw a pick, but it was just a good play that was made by Patrick Peterson. Todd Gurley running the ball, didn't have a whole lot of yards, but he did have 3 touchdowns. It seemed as if the game plan was just, let's just pass the ball as much as we can, and then once we get it about inside the 10-yard line, we're just going to give it to Gurley, which is pretty good strategy if you ask me, but not if you're a fantasy owner of some of those receivers with Jared Goff. But like I said, Gurley played well, came out of the game early, and then receiving, I had Brandon Cooks on my fantasy team, and I'm very happy that I played him. He played very well as well. 7 catches for 159 yards, but again, no touchdowns. And then Robert Woods had played a good game. Cooper Kupp, so it was like I said, just a good old fashioned butt whooping. Like I said, not much to take here from the Rams, but the Cardinals. It's they just look bad, and I'm sorry, Cards fans. And the only question I have is, it's some people are saying it's a matter of when and not if they start to play Rosen, but I was thinking about it, and I'm like, do you even play him at this point? They're not getting anything out of Bradford. It just looks like the season's not going to go anywhere. So of course you would say, like, let's just get this guy some reps and stuff like that. But at the same time, do you really want to throw him out there to the Wolves like that? And it could have the risk to run the potential of affecting his confidence going forward and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know, it's just tough. It's just tough times in Arizona, down there in it's not Scottsdale, down there in Glendale, excuse me. But yeah, like I said, the only I guess big takeaway from this game is not a good one, and that Greg the Leg Zerline, I don't know, but Greg the Leg, the kicker for the star kicker for the Rams, had to leave the game with a groin injury. So yeah, that's not good. I don't think it's serious. From what I've seen, they're not putting him on IR or anything like that, but they did, I think, sign another kicker, and but like I said, it's just not good, and whenever you lose a star player like that or a top guy like that, and Greg the Leg is one of the best kickers in the league, and it's definitely gonna affect my fantasy team as well. But hopefully he gets back on the field soon. But yeah, that was the Rams, Cardinals, Chargers, Bills. Again, not really a whole lot to unpack here. It was just one of those, you know, it was an easy game or an easy game that the Chargers, you know, should have won on paper, and they went out and took care of business. A good confidence booster win for the Bolts, especially after laying an egg last week against the Chiefs. But they, like I said, the final score doesn't, you know, reflect the type of game that it was. 31-20 in favor of the Chargers. But again, like I said, everyone played pretty much as well as they could have throughout the game. On the Charger side of things, Phillip Rivers, 23 of 27 for 256 and 3 touchdowns. Like I said, and with 2 of them going to Melvin Gordon, who had three touchdowns to himself. Like I said, 2 catching, 1 rushing. And then, like I said, just not a whole lot to take from this game. The Bills, they stink, man. They really, really stink. And they've got a long ways to go. If they were up in the air for you as who the worst team in the league might be, they definitely cemented that fact yesterday afternoon. Yeah, man, they are definitely going to be. There's going to be a lot more games like that than not for Bills fans, and as I questioned whether or not they should go with Josh Rosen, or the Cardinals should go with Josh Rosen earlier. It is officially, Josh Allen's season down up there in Buffalo, and he didn't look great, made some mistakes, but at least you can see some potential in him. There were a lot of throws where he stayed in the pocket, he stayed poised when there was people in his face. He made some strong throws. A lot of them were to the, a couple of them were to the wrong team. But like I said, you can see what the Bills see in him, and you can see what a lot of scouts saw in him and stuff like that. But you just hope that, a bad season like they're gonna have won't, like I said, just won't affect his confidence, won't affect his ability to want to learn and all that stuff going forward. So, like I said, hopefully that doesn't happen. But finally, with our the Raiders, man, just another game the Raiders lose in the second half. And they came out, playing pretty well on offense in the first half. They did about as much as they could do, but once they go into that locker room at halftime, and whoever the other team is, and they start to make adjustments, the Raiders just can't stop, man. They can't stop, and they can't figure it out. They just can't make adjustments based on what the other team make after their other team makes their adjustments. And this was a tough one in particular. I think a lot of people had the Broncos winning, and even though they did win, it wasn't that easy of a win for them. And to the Raiders' defense, not that they have much of one here. They did look a little better all around. Well, at least on the offensive side of things, they look a little bit more consistent and stuff. It's just frustrating, man. It's just really, really frustrating. And like I said, they looked a little better. If you look at the stats, if you look at the stats and stuff, it's just. So the Raiders lost this game 19-20, and it almost doesn't make sense how the Raiders lost this game. They led, if you didn't see the Broncos, one of the things where they came back and hit a last-second field goal with only like 5 seconds left or 6 seconds left, But the Raiders had the lead in this entire game except for those last 6 seconds. And looking at the stats, it looks like they should have won. Derek Carr was 29 of 32 for 288 yards and a touchdown. Marshawn Lynch had a pretty okay day running the ball, 65 yards and a touchdown himself. Amari Cooper was great, 116 yards. Jared Cook again, looking to be the safety valve, it seems like, for Derek Carr, but the big glaring thing is just, Derek Carr has all these yards and a great, completion percentage and stuff like that, but just only one touchdown, and that's just what it is. It's just, they just don't score touchdowns, which is, kind of what you're supposed to do on offense, is score touchdowns, at least score points, and it's just, I don't know. Like I said, they looked a little bit better, but like I said, now they just got to find the end zone more. And it's just, I don't know. It's just frustrating, man. It's really tough. It's like I said, especially when they're leading the entire game, and the Broncos who didn't look that great themselves. So this was like there's just the perfect game for the Raiders to show the haters, myself included, and a lot of people out there, that hey, we're for real. We can do this. We can go on the road, in the division, in a place that's hard to win already in Denver because of the altitude and all that stuff, and they have a good defense. So let's show them what we got with this offense. And they did enough to have the lead the whole game, but they just didn't do that extra thing to get the win, and they just found a way to lose, like I said, it's just, like I said, the Broncos weren't that great. They didn't play that great either, except for a couple of big plays which set up the touchdowns for them. They didn't really, they weren't that impressive. But again, neither were the Raiders, and I don't know, I'm just frustrated, man. They whatever. I'll just move on. Like I said, I got a lot to get to. I can't dwell on it, so I guess if anything, also the defense, air quotes, looked better. Maybe, but I'm still trying to figure out if it's because they played a little bit better, or if it's just because the Broncos offense just isn't that good. But either way, Raiders are 0-2, and start the year, and like I said, hopefully they can figure it out. Like I said, maybe this is the step in the right direction. I don't know. I really don't know. But now to get on for the rest of the games throughout this weekend. Start with Sunday night's game, Giants-Cowboys. The Giants, man, they just don't look good yet. And, I said it last week or the last episode, they have some good pieces to build around, obviously. They have OBJ, who, again, one of the top receivers in the league, arguably if not the best receiver in the league. A great young talented running back, Saquon Barkley, who looks like he's going to be pretty good. There's some analysis for you, but he looks like he's going to be pretty good. But they just, that offensive line and that defensive line, they just need a lot of work, man. That's mainly it. They need to fix those lines. They couldn't block anybody, and they were in Eli's face most of the game, and their defensive line just couldn't put any pressure on Dak. And like I said, I know that the Cowboys have one of the best offensive lines in the league, the Cowboys' strength on their defense is their defensive line. I know that, and it's a little, maybe some would say, unfair to criticize them on those ends, in that aspect. But it's like I said, it's just, like I said, the potential is there for the Giants in the future. Like I said, they just got to start building, and they honestly have to start thinking about looking at another quarterback. And shout out to the guys on the Ringer NFL show, Robert Mays and Kevin Clark. I can't remember which one of the two of those guys brought it up, but they said that they had heard some stuff from people talking and maybe read something about it or something, but they brought it up and made it kind of more publicly known or whatever words. As great as Saquon Barkley is, and as good as has been, and as good as he looks like he's gonna be, he's saying, do they regret not using that top pick on a quarterback, especially since there were so many quarterbacks to pick from this year? And they're like, we know that, a good running back is hard to find, especially in the first round, and especially in the early part of the first round. That doesn't come around a lot. But it's just something to think about. It's just something to think about. So like I said, I was like, oh, that's pretty good. It's pretty interesting. It's initially be like, no, of course you go with the running back, but then you're like, actually maybe running back might only last about 3-4 years, but the quarterback could last you about another, an extra, 3 or 4 on top of that, and it's just like I said, it's just something to think about. But again, like I said, they still need a lot of work to do if they want to be as good as people think they can be. But the Cowboys look good as well. But then again, I was thinking, was it because they played well? Which, I'm sure they did. But was it just because the Giants were so bad? Like I said, they had a good defensive game plan. It seemed like they just timed all their blitzes correctly, whether it was a run blitz or a pass or a passing blitz. They just timed it perfectly. Dak and Zeke, they both had good games. Dak running and throwing the ball, and it was just like I said, it was just a pretty convincing win for the Cowboys. Again, another confidence booster for them as well. Like I said, good win for them. Then we got Chiefs Steelers, and if you want to know what a quintessential Chiefs game will look like in this 2018-19 season, this was it. Just a shootout. 42-37 Chiefs. But I mean, like I said, I said it before and I will say it again. Their best defense is their offense, because their offense is going to put up points, and putting up points they did with Patrick effing Mahomes, my homie, throwing 6 touchdowns. Helping the Chiefs get the win, and also helping my fantasy team get a win, as I'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, it's Patrick Mahomes looks like he's living up to the hype for sure. Like I said, he looks like he'll be as good a quarterback as everyone's been hyping him up to be. But with all that being said, this game was still close. Like I said, the game was 42-37. He threw 6 freaking touchdowns, and the defense, like I said, the defense just played well enough to be able to hold them off. So, which I guess is good. And yeah, Patrick Mahomes was just lights out. But on the flip side of things, the Steelers' offense looked a little bit better. Like I said, they put up 37 points. But again, it just wasn't enough. Against a bad defense like KC. But the big thing that they're talking about, of course, their defense just looked. So their defense just did not look good, especially being a Steelers defense, historically known as, they're the backbone of their team and their identity as a team, as a hard smash mouth team led by their defense. And like I said, this just wasn't the case, and they got a lot of work to do over there in Pittsburgh as well. I'm gonna start running through these games quickly now. I realize I'm rambling a little bit more, but Dolphins Jets, this game, the Jets came back down to earth. After a big Monday Night Football win last week, or earlier this week, or actually last week, excuse me. And Darnold, looked like a rookie. Made some good throws, made some bad ones, and ultimately they didn't get the win. But the Dolphins on the flip side just looked way more impressive than I expected. I know it was hard to analyze the game that they had last week, especially with the rain delay and just all the it was just all that stuff going on. But the Dolphins, man, they are very, very happy to have Ryan Tannehill back making plays. And like I said, making plays is what he did yesterday. And the defense looked pretty good as well. Everyone thought, what are they going to do? They lost a lot of their best players, blah, 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 and all this stuff. And, like I said, they just went out there and played well. They took advantage of having a rookie quarterback over on the other side. And, they just, they did what they had to do, and like I said, they pulled out the win. Definitely got that pick wrong. Next one, Eagles Buccaneers. A tale of two plays. 2 75-yard bombs by Ryan Fitzpatrick. One to Deshaun Jackson, I think just pretty much to start the game, and another to O.J. Howard, who had a great catch and run. But yeah, Fitzpatrick has looked great for the Buccaneers, man. He has been just the spark plug that they needed, and they would be pretty foolish to go back to Jameis Winston. But won't be surprised if they look to trade him or just straight up release him. If not during this season, then after the season for sure. But as good as he's been on the field for the Buccaneers, he has been just as good for the internet, supplying from some very tasty memes for everybody out there. With his very funny press conference thing, going out there being, very sarcastic take on, don't let these wins humble you, or let these wins humble you, don't let it get to your head. He went out there with, the tracksuit unzipped and wearing what I'm sure is not his jewelry, and some goofy sunglasses and stuff out there. But it was great. It was funny, and caught up in all the hoopla and all that stuff is, to quote the Podfather, the great Bill Simmons, are we sure the Bucks aren't good? This is 2 games now where they came out there and took care of business against 2 pretty good teams in the NFC. 2 of the teams that people were picking to win their respective divisions. And the Buccaneers just went there and took care of business. And like I said, let's see. Are we sure the Bucks aren't good? We'll have to wait and see. But on the flip side of things, the Eagles, man, they got to figure something out. I don't know what it is that just quite yet. I'm not that invested in Eagles football to kind of really break it down and find out what's going on. But like I said, they just look off. They just look off. I don't know. It could be Super Bowl hangover. It could be a number of things. I don't know. But yeah, like I said, they got to figure something out. They got to put it together. And it might come in the form of Carson Wentz. Like I said, this morning it's been announced that they are going to get Carson Wentz back. He's been medically cleared to play football again, and he's going to start this week against the Colts, which is, I guess, a good team to start against. The Colts definitely are one of the best teams in the league and don't have one of the best defenses, but like I said, it'll be good tested for him, and it should be good for them, and hopefully it'll be as good for them as it is for my fantasy team as well, because I'll get to it later, but like I said, I got Carson Wentz on my fantasy team, and I'm hoping he'll be a spark for my fantasy team as well. Moving on, though, we got Browns Saints. Browns, surprisingly, the Browns looked like they were going to pull this game out after the Saints looked just super sloppy for about 40 minutes, man. For the first 40 minutes, just fumbles by receivers, some drop passes, just missed field goals, which was the theme of the day, it seems. Missed field goals. Just missed field goals. And just missed opportunities. But like I said, even though for like the first 40 minutes looked sloppy, the Saints turned it around in the latter part of the fourth quarter to narrow the gap. But like I said, it looked like the Browns were going to pull this thing out, and their undefeated season, or their bid for undefeated season, was going to continue. But like I said, they narrowed the gap. The Saints did, but Tyrod Taylor made an amazing touchdown throw on 4th down, like about a 50-something yarder to take the lead. And, it looked like, oh shit, man, the Browns are going to do this. But, nope. Their kicker, again, like I said, following the theme of the day, the Browns kicker missed the PAT, just missed it, flat out missed it. And along with 2 others earlier in the game that would have helped, build on their lead. And it was tied up, and the Saints eventually drove down the field and hit the game-winning field goal with, not much time left on the clock, and that's the way the cookie crumbled. And the Browns, man, just finding ways to lose again. Tough. But like I said, the Saints, they gotta fix it. Don't let that last like I said, the last like 5 to 8 minutes or so of that game fool you. The Saints got a lot of work to do as well. They got to clean some stuff up. They lost to the Buccaneers last week. Again, even though I did say they might be good, like I said, the Saints are a team that should have won that game. They should have won the first game. They shouldn't have had. It shouldn't have been this close of a game against the Browns. Of all the teams, and like I said, they got to figure out some stuff pretty quickly. If they want to be as much of a contender as everyone thinks they can be. And then the Browns, gonna Browns, man. Finding ways to lose. And, again, just especially when, the team was giving them the ball, and then like 2 or 3 turnovers. Like I said, just missed kicks and stuff like that. And, it's, like I said, that's just, I don't know, man. It's the Browns are gonna Browns. Then we got Colts and the Redskins. I didn't like picking this game beforehand, but I'm glad I picked correctly because, I'm glad I picked the way I did because I made the right pick. This was a crapshoot in this one. It was not a pretty game from either team, and I just don't know what to say from this one. the Redskins didn't even score a touchdown. Just if that shows you anything or tells you anything, they just look pretty bad, and it looks like it's going to be another one of those seasons, in Washington. And the Colts didn't play much better either, but at least Andrew Luck looked better. He looked more consistent. He looked more confident in the pocket, especially, like I said, after not playing for pretty much an entire year. So there was that. Moving on to the Vikings and Packers. What should have been the game of the week, and arguably it was, but it ended in another tie. I sound like Chris Rock talking about Michael Jackson. Another kid, another tie. The Packers should have won this game in regulation. They had an 8-point lead with like 3 minutes to go or something like that. But with the cards stacked against them, the Vikings, man, showed they had a little dog in them, and they came back, and they had picked up where they left off, making amazing plays in the playoffs. Just a sick ass touchdown pass from Cousins, who played great, and then really showed him something. You know what I mean? Showed the haters something in this game. But he had a sick ass pass to Adam Thielen on just dropping the dime, threading the needle for the touchdown, and then with a 2-point conversion to Stephon Diggs on the back shoulder fade. And to tie it, but like I said, the Packers still had a chance to win it, and Mason Crosby, who is a sure-legged guy, just one of the better kickers in the league, and has been consistently over the last few years, and who also had the hot leg all day. I think they said he made like 4 or 5 field goals all game. When it came down to it, missed the game winner as time expired, and we're going to overtime, folks. And like I said, you already know how this one ends. And as much as the Packers should have won this game in regulation, the Vikings should have won this game in OT. And you hate to blame it on one guy or one person, since it is a team game and there were other opportunities to win. There's all that kind of stuff. But it's hard to deny that the Vikings kicker cost them this game. With 2, not just 1, but 2 missed field goals, and 2 relatively easy field goals, especially the last one, which was a 30-something yard chip shot. Missed it as time expired in overtime, and we had again another tie. It was a crazy game, and it already showed us what we knew about the Packers, that pretty much it's all Aaron Rodgers on offense, and guarantee if Aaron Rodgers was not in this game because his little leg injury was a little bit more serious, they for sure would not have won that game. But with the Vikings, man, like I said before, it showed that they got a little dog in them, and they're hyped up a lot. A lot of people have them picked as their favorite from the NFC to go to the Super Bowl. And even though they didn't win this game, they pretty much should walk away with this holding their heads high and treating it like a W, because they came all the way back, did their thing, did their part, and they didn't let the moment get to them, and they came back, and it was, like I said, not just to come back, but they came back down big and on the road. So that was like in the division. So that's big. Like I said, even though they didn't get the official W in the scorebook, they should treat it like a W for them, because that was a great game and a great comeback for the Vikings. Panthers Falcons next. Huge win for the Falcons. Huge win for the Falcons, man. As I talk about another confidence booster, they had a pretty disappointing opening or first game last Thursday, and there's a lot of rumblings, all the Falcons doing it again, blah 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 and all that stuff. But they were going into this game down their 2 best defensive players in Keanu Neal, who is done for the season with a torn ACL, which is huge loss for them. Huge loss for them. And they also didn't have Deion Jones, who had a leg injury as well. Not on not done for the season, but he was placed on that one list where it's like injury reserve with intent to return or something like that. But again, they didn't have him for this game either, and they also didn't have Devontae Freeman. Like I said, it looks like the injury bug is spreading through Atlanta, and didn't have three of their top players going into this game. But despite all that, it looked like the offense, just took over, man. They stepped up when they had to, and they looked great. They just looked really good, especially in the running game, despite not having Freeman, who was arguably their best running back. Him and Tevin Coleman, they split their running back duties, but they ran the ball well, which helped set up the pass game, and Matt Ryan, man, looked really, really good. He took a lot of shit week one for Matt Ryan, typical Matt Ryan, playing just like he always does, blah blah blah, and all that. But like I said, he played very well, and it looked like he really wanted to, be the guy that the team can rally around in the absence of their, like I said, their two, big defensive losses. So like I said, and he did that. 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. Very, very odd considering it is Matt Ryan, who normally does not do that. But yeah, it was just, like I said, a huge win for the Falcons. Just a huge, like I said, just confidence booster for them as well. A narrative flipping kind of game that'll give their fans and themselves, like, all right, maybe we were wrong. Maybe we can do this. Let's do this. And it was, like I said, a big win for the Falcons. And on the flip side, man, it was equally as bad of a loss for the Panthers for the same reason that I mentioned before. Like I said, their offense played well, and they definitely took advantage of the Falcons wounded defense. Their offense played well. Cam looked great. Like I said, you could tell by the way that Cam Newton was playing and just throwing it very well, running the ball very well. That the Falcons defense really missed having Neal and Jones out there, but the Panthers defense was abnormally bad, like really bad, and the Falcons took advantage of it, and that was weird. I thought the Panthers were going to win this game. I arguably think they should have, like I said, all things considered. But yeah, the defense just went out there and laid an egg, man. They were not good. And I don't know what happened with them, but like I said, I don't know if that's going to happen again or if it's going to be a trend or what. But like I said, they just did not look good. But yeah, that was that. Then we got Texans-Titans. No Mariota for the Titans. They went with Blaine Gabbert, but that was no problem, and that is very strange to say considering that they had played Blaine Gabbert. But their defense played very well, and like I said, kept the score down. That's what they wanted. Like I said, they got a backup quarterback in there. And like I said, they're also down one of their top playmakers in Delaney Walker. And like I said, they kept the score down. Final only being 20-17. And like I said, they did just enough to get the win, which is all they can ask for. That's all you can really ask for. And like I said, with only the help of I think even though the score was 20-17, the Texans, they also had a defensive touchdown. I think I'm not 100%. I can't remember off the top, but like I said, the Titans, and on top of playing well on offense, a little bit pretty well, they did enough on offense. They played very well on defense. Special teams, it's 3 facets of the game: offense, defense, special teams. Can't forget about that. A sick ass trick play on the fake punt in the first quarter. That was one of the better trick plays that I've seen. They just ran it so nonchalantly and just slipped it in there, and they took advantage, and that was great. That was, like I said, especially when, like I said, whenever, like I said, you're down a quarterback or you're starting quarterback, you got to find other ways to score or something like that. And like I said, they definitely did. Big guts there, big balls there for a first-year head coach in Mike Vrabel. That was, like I said, that was great. And on the flip side, the Texans is not off to the start that they, or I think anybody, honestly, thought that they would have. They've got the right pieces. They've got the right pieces, but they've just got to figure out how to put them all together. And you hate to do it like this, and I hate to sound like this, but it starts with Deshaun Watson. It starts with Deshaun Watson. I know he's coming off the knee injury. We all know that, but he just has to slowly work and get his confidence back. And you can kind of see him a little timid in there, making a little off and stuff like that. He doesn't look like the Deshaun Watson that we saw last year, who was just potential for Rookie of the Year before the injury. But like I said, he just got to get his confidence back, and like I said, then I think they'll be fine going forward. Maybe this is just the rebuilding year, air quotes, just to get everything back on their feet. Like I said, they just got Deshaun Watson back. They just got J.J. Watt back, and stuff like that. So there's that. But then I will say, before I move on from this game, that I am very, very, very excited to watch the matchup between DeAndre Hopkins and Adoree Jackson for the next few years. I am very excited to watch that because they were going at it all game long. Adoree Jackson had an interception. DeAndre Hopkins had a touchdown catch. They were leaving DeAndre Hopkins, as much as everyone talks about OBJ, Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, and stuff like that. Those are the three best receivers. Don't forget about DeAndre Hopkins, who arguably has the best hands, like pure hands, out of all those guys. Up there with OBJ, and like I said, they just left Adoree Jackson out there one-on-one with him most of the time, and he was up for the challenge. Like I said, he was there stride for stride with him, and like I said, that was great. That was a great battle between those guys, and like I said, I can't wait to watch that for the next few years, especially considering that they're in the same division. But yeah, then we got Lions-Niners, another mediocre game. Not a whole lot to take from this one. Just kind of happened. Niners did just enough to get the win, and whatever. But even though the Lions lost, at least they didn't look as bad as they did last week. They actually were trying to mount a little bit of a comeback, but they just ultimately fell short. But yeah, this one was just a game that happened. And the last one, finally, Pats-Jags. One that I'm sure a lot of people got wrong here. But the Jags, man, they just took care of business. And the Jags, they got the big win for them, and in the AFC rematch, taking care of business, 31-20, and it was like that, like they just took care of fucking business, and just outplayed the Patriots in all three phases of the game, all game long. The defense was especially great. Everyone knows that the Jags defense was going to be good. They were pressuring Brady all day long, and they got a little help on special teams. And though I'm sure not a lot of people are going to want to admit it, but Blake Bortles played very, very well. I'll admit it. I that was the biggest thing for me. The biggest question was, can Blake Bortles shoulder the load, especially with a not as talented roster as they had last year when they went to the playoffs? And he stepped up. He made plays. He was throwing the ball very well, and the mistakes that were made were not his fault. There were a lot of dropped passes. I think he threw the pick or something, but it was just one of those passes where the guy should have caught it, bounced off his chest protector, and into the hands of a defender. Ran the ball when he needed to get the first down. Wasn't scared to get out there and dive head first. Yeah, I'll admit, man, I picked against him. He proved me wrong. And like I said, he proved a lot of people wrong. The narrative of this game is gonna be, what's wrong with the Pats, and what happened here, blah blah blah. When it should be, damn, the Jags look for real, and they, like I said, are going to prove a lot of haters wrong. And like I said, this is a big, big win for them. Look for this game. If the Jags can continue this and do well, they can look back on, this game specifically as the one that really boosted their confidence, man. Because, like I said, they just took care of business straight up. And people, like I said, people can say what's wrong with the Pats, but the problem with the Pats are the same problems that they've had. The same questions that we had going into the season. There's just that their defense is still not that good yet, and they just don't have. There's just a lack of playmakers on offense. I mean, that's just it. Tom Brady really has to do everything. And I guess this is a good little transition thing because that might change for the Pats because this ultimately it was a strange day in the NFL to say the least. And like I said, there's always one of those weird NFL weeks, and this might have been it. Like I said, where the teams you didn't expect to win pulled off convincing wins. Going back to this game, the Jags and the Pats, the Buccaneers getting the win against reigning Super Bowl champs. You can even throw the Dolphins in there. I don't think people thought the Dolphins were going to look that good or as good as they did. So many missed field goals in this game. Not just this game, but just throughout the entire week, man. Vikings, Packers, most notably. The big missed field goals that ultimately cost both teams the game that resulting in a tie. The Browns, their kicker missed missed two field goals and a PAT that would have done it, and just a lot of missed PATs throughout the week. And it felt like there was at least one missed field goal of some kind from each game. It was crazy. And again, like harkening back to the tie, it was the first time I got it down here since 1973 that there's been back-to-back ties in opening weeks. And all the NFL teams out there, let's just keep it going. Let's just see how many ties we can have this year. As long as I can remember, I've only seen one tie at the most in the season. We've already got two. Why not make it 16? Let's just go. Let's just have one a week. Like I said, just with the other strange stuff that was happening throughout the league. So the Browns brought in Josh Gordon. They brought him back. And, it's a big thing on Hard Knocks and all that. And they're saying that hopefully we'll get the most out of him. And he's, blah, 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 this and that. But that little honeymoon phase was over because before or late on Saturday afternoon, the Browns announced that they were going to release Josh Gordon, who has, not had the most stellar career with them. He had the great, 2013 season, I think, where he went to the Pro Bowl, had like the 1,000+ yard receiving year and all that stuff, and just a great year and a great talent and a lot of potential with him. But then he kept getting in trouble off the field, most notably, smoking all that gas. Then failed physicals and just stuff like that, and he kept getting suspended. And then finally he came back, and they tried to give him a chance, but like I said, ultimately that wasn't the case. So they're gonna release him, but then it turned out that they were maybe not gonna release him, but listened to trade offers, and he was probably gonna get traded. Then and then Gordon was saying, hey, maybe I'd like to land with if I don't get traded, maybe I could land with the Niners or the Cowboys. And stuff like that. And then they said the Browns were getting trade offers and stuff like that. But hot off the press, the Cleveland Browns are trading Josh Gordon to the New England Patriots. God damn it, man. And just when I was talking about lack of playmakers on offense and it just being the Tom Brady show, the Patriots did it again. They're definitely taking a risk on this, and it's not going to cost them much. They only traded away a 5th round pick for him, which shows you that the Browns are done with him. But any other time or any other situation where a team is just willing to let a player go, a player as talented and that has much potential as Josh Gordon does, for essentially peanuts in a 5th round pick, you'd be skeptical about it. But if there's any team that can get the most out of a player like Josh Gordon, it's Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. So, like I said, not saying that the Patriots found their answer that they've been looking for, as far as like getting their playmaker, but they definitely added a weapon to their offense, and now they have a big playmaker type guy. Like I said, it didn't cost them much, so they're not really losing anything out on doing this. And so, yeah, man, we'll have to see how things go now. I mean, shit. I think it's a great move for the Pats. Like I said, they needed him, a player like him. So, yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. But in a strange day, possibly the strangest thing to happen, not just yesterday, but possibly one of the strangest things I've ever heard. and a lot of people are talking about it, but Bills cornerback Vontae Davis retired, which isn't the weird part. He retired in the middle of the game. Now, I've never heard anything like that. I didn't even know you could do that. Retiring during the game is, it seemed like they were saying that as like, that's just, a foo-foo, neat little bow and tied bow and all that stuff on it. Way of saying that he quit on the team. But I tweeted this on the clip of people talking about it, that I think this is going to go down as not just one of the weirdest stories in sports or in football, but in sports as a whole. This is, controversial to say the least, but a lot of mixed reactions to his decision. A lot of players are coming to his defense and saying, "You never played the game," and he knew he was because the thing is, after the fact, Vontae Davis came out and said, "Hey, just my body's failing me, and it's just I had nothing left, so this was I feel like I made the right decision," and blah blah blah, which is fine, which is a fine thing, to say, and that's a totally legit reason, like I said, these NFL players, especially more recently, they've like I said, they know we know the risks that the players take playing football all the time, and as long as he's been playing for at least 10 years now, and all that. And like I said, and no one knows their body more than yourself. And we're not saying that when no one's saying that that's the case. That's not the case. We're like, oh, you still got some left in you, blah blah blah. But it all comes down to something that I always say. I've said it on this podcast plenty of times. I say it in outside of this and in regular life all the time too. But it's not what you do, but it's how you do it. And this and how he did this is what's rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. You've got dumb fans who've never played the game saying dumb stuff, obviously, like quitter and you're this, you're that. But a lot of it is, the main thing is that ultimately it's like, is he a quitter? And yes, bottom line, yes, he did. He quit on the team. And I know I'm taking the hot takey approach to it, but yes, he did quit on his team because it came out that I think Chris Mortensen, shout out to Mort, came out that said that like just during halftime he didn't say anything. He just at halftime changed into his regular clothes and left, as if like what you do after the game. He just changed, didn't say anything to his teammates, didn't say anything to anybody, and he just changed into his regular clothes and left. And there was the great clip of, I think, Lorenzo Alexander after the game giving his 2 cents. And of course, if they're gonna have anyone on that team do it, have it be him. Veteran guy, been with the team for a while, team captain, I believe, a leader on the team, and he told it like it was. He just said, listen, man, that's that. It's like, look, and I'm sure he feels the same way. Where it's like, look, if he wants to retire, that's fine. You can do that, whatever. But at least he just the lack of respect that he showed to not say anything to his teammates, to not finish the game with his teammates at least, and just say, hey, listen, I can't do it anymore, whatever. Because he essentially took his ball and went home, and he didn't want to face his teammates and face anything and say anything. Like I said, which is his prerogative. That's how he wants to handle it. That's how he wants to handle it. But like I said, just that, I don't know, that, like I said, I may be in the minority here with him saying that he quit, but he's using the retiring as just to win the semantics battle, but like I said, to do it in the middle of a game where they're already getting blown out, in arguably one of the in a really bad season for them, that what's the potential to be a bad season for them. And I think he just signed a deal with them, so he already just secured and it just looks like he secured the bag and left. And it's because like retirement, like that's not just something that you just say, you know what, I think I'm gonna retire today, like right now. It's like something that you contemplate and think over a period of time. So this definitely wasn't something that he just in the spur of the moment did. Like he's been thinking about this for a while, and and he just and like I said, no one's saying that we don't blame him, because yes, it is going to be a long season, and yes, I'm sure his body is broken down and tired from playing for so long and all the hours he's put in, for doing what it takes to be an NFL player. And he saw the writing on the wall, man, that this team is not going to be good. And do I really want to bust my butt like that for and risk long-term injury or anything like that for a season that's going to go nowhere? And like I said, that's fine. You can that can be your logic for wanting to retire. But again, it's not that he wanted to retire, but it's just how he did it in the middle of a game. Didn't say anything, just quit on his team and just went home. Like I said, that's tough. And if I was one of those Bills players, I would have been pissed. I haven't checked Twitter or anything like that to see if any more responses came out from the players or anything like that. I'm definitely gonna check that after this. But yeah, man. I mean, best of luck to Vontae Davis and whatever he does. Like I said, he was a great cornerback in his day. If you're not familiar, go look back and watch his highlights and stuff. And from when he was on the Colts, early in his career, he was a great one-on-one shutdown corner. Definitely one of the better quarterbacks in the league when he was playing. But again, the lesson here for everybody is just it's not what you do, it's how you do it. So yeah, that was all the stuff that happened. Like I said, just an eventful, to say the least, NFL Sunday. And I've been going on for a while now, so I'm gonna try to really quickly go through everything else. There's a lot to get to. Like I said, fantasy football for your boy, not a good start for your boy. I'm about to be 0-2 in fantasy, which sucks because I actually had a pretty good week. I can't lie. Kelsey was my MVP, gave me 26 points, played very well. Just a pretty pedestrian day for Jimmy G with only 16 points at quarterback. And it seems like he's the good IRL, but not for fantasy type of player. There's always those kind of guys. And like I said, and then I'm just happy that I'll be getting Wentz this week. Hopefully he can continue his success that he had from last year, and hopefully that success can help out my fantasy team as well. But everyone else played pretty good too. I'm not gonna lie. Everyone else played pretty well, and like I said, that's what sucks is that I'm gonna lose. Tyreek Hill gave me 17 points. Marshawn Lynch gave me 13. Brandon Cooks had 19 points. And a surprisingly low production from Antonio Brown, but like I said, it was just one of those days for the Steelers. But that was how the Friends League went. In the Family League, I laid the motherfucking smack down on my cousin's candy ass. Obviously with Patrick effing Mahomes, my homie, 6 touchdowns and we're out to 60 points, 60 fantasy points. Man, I was hesitant to start him over Cam this week, considering that Cam had a good day as well. It's not like he had a bad day either, and he played well in week 1, so that's why I was like, I don't know if I should do this. But I just trusted my homie, and like I said, I'm going with my homie until he can prove me otherwise. But again, for the most part, my guys did it well. I got Marshawn, Kelsey, and Brandon Cooks. Like I mentioned the last one, they played well for me there, so they played well for me here, obviously. Couple stinkers, Robbie Anderson being one, only 0.7 fantasy points. He had a fumble, only 227 receiving yards. Not good, no bueno. And I did leave some points on the board with Chris Hogan, who played well himself. 2 touchdowns, 42 yards, 16 fantasy points, but I didn't need it. I'm gonna be winning this week anyway. Only thing that it sucks that I lost Greg the leg. I don't know how long he's gonna be out for, so I gotta be on the hunt for a new kicker. So that sucks. But yeah, like I said, not the start that I wanted in my fantasy football season. But hey, I mean, it's slowly but surely. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So we'll have to wait and see. Other big news. Let's see, where should I go next? I'll just talk Dodgers real quick. Dodgers, they won their series against the Cardinals 3-1, so that was huge for them, because now they are tied with the Cardinals for that wild card spot. That's that second and final wild card spot. That's huge for them. But last night's loss paired with the Rockies win has the Rockies back on top now in the NL West. The Dodgers had the lead going into yesterday. They're sitting on top, but now the Rockies are back on top. And I know I've been saying this for the last couple weeks or so, and the big series for the Dodgers here. But this series right now with the Rockies is the biggest series of the season for the Dodgers. And if they want to control their own destiny, and if they don't want to have it come down to math, a matter of mathematics and numbers, and putting it in their fate in someone else's hands, they got to go out and do this, man. They have to win. They have to sweep. They have to get security. At least win the series 2-1. But a sweep would almost guarantee them the NL West win or title. But like I said, they got to go out and perform and execute in this series. And you can bet your ass I'm going to be out there at Chavez Ravine to catching the game. So if you're out there, come say what's up. Let's do this. Dodgers, they need all the support they can. So let's do this. Like I said, hopefully they can take care of business. That was the Dodgers. Not much with the Angels. What else is there quickly? With the NBA, I guess not a whole lot with NBA, but Dwayne Wade made the announcement that he is coming back for one more season with the Miami Heat. This is going to be his farewell tour. It's going to be pretty sad. It hasn't really full on hit me yet because I'm not in basketball mode yet or whatever, but it's tough, man. Dwayne Wade, one of the best shooting guards of my generation. I've seen a lot of him, I've seen a lot of Dwayne Wade in my day, but like I said, one more year for Dwayne Wade with Miami Heat. There's that. Let me see. I'll do Hell in a Cell last because there's a lot more with that. But also the other big thing that happened this week and that I forgot to mention in Friday's episode, I completely forgot, was the Canelo Triple G fight, which was controversial, to say the least. Now, I'm no boxing expert, even though whenever these big fights come around, all of a sudden everybody becomes a boxing expert. But I will gladly admit that I am not one. But with all that being said, personally, I thought Triple G won that fight, or that at least it was a tie. A tie at the least, so that they could, book it where it's 2 ties already, and they can set it all up for the trilogy for the third and final fight, last time ever, blah, 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 and steal more people's money. But Canelo got the win. Canelo got the win by majority decision. Like I said, a controversial one to say the least. A lot of people, from what I can remember, most of the commentary team, who are, no slouches themselves when it comes to boxing, and Jim Lampley, who's probably forgotten more about boxing than I've ever known, and Max Kellerman, who's never fought, but is a human encyclopedia for boxing, and a little guy by the name of Roy Jones Jr., who I don't know, was from what I can remember was pretty good at boxing himself in his day. It seemed to me like those 3 guys all had the same idea that Triple G won the fight, and I know that the they have the guy, the Letterman, I can't remember his name, but the Letterman, the guy who has they go to him and his take, and he scored at Canelo, Triple G to have the fight. That Triple G won the fight as well. And like I said, that's where it's just super controversial. And I know Canelo landed more power punches, more body shots than Triple G. And in those middle rounds, it felt like Canelo was completely in control most of the time, and he dictated and he controlled the pace and dictated what he wanted to do. Like I said, for a majority of those middle rounds. But I don't know, man. Just Triple G, man, came out hot, controlled the beginning part of the fight, the early rounds. Looked a little tired in the middle, but I personally thought he was just kind of not cruising, but he was baiting Canelo to try to tire him out so that he can do what he did, and he dominated those last 3 to 4 rounds. No, without any question, dominated those last 3 or 4 rounds. When Canelo was looking tired, and he busted him open with a big cut over his eye and was peppering him with some good combos, with the straight jab all night long, and he landed more punches overall. And like I said, I just thought Triple G won the fight, or should have been at least a tie. But again, I'm no expert, and the decision is a decision. But like I said, I know just a lot of people feel the same way about the fight, and that's twice now that Triple G got robbed in these fights. And I don't know if they're gonna do a third fight. I don't know if they are or not. I don't know. Triple G was pretty pissed off about the decision, as it was pretty obvious. He didn't stick around to talk or anything after the fight. He just left, which shows you as sportsman, as good of a sportsman as he is. Like I said, for him to do that, he was pissed off, and he just figured, I'd rather just not say anything at all than say something that might get me in trouble, because you could tell he was pissed that he felt that he won that fight, and I don't know, yeah, but I mean, like I said, the decision's the decision, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens going forward with this, as far as whether there's going to be a round 3. But yeah, that was the fight. Now to move on to the real fighting, as WWE Hell in a Cell was on Sunday as well. Something Bell. I don't know. I'm not gonna start rhyming. But like I said, Hell in a Cell was this Sunday, and it was actually pretty good, considering there were only 2 cell matches in a pay-per-view titled Hell in a Cell. And despite the fact that the match card going into it seemed super predictable, and I mentioned this in the on Friday's episode, that it was that was the only thing that was hindering it, because it just felt like, that would make it seem like this wasn't going to be such a good pay-per-view, because, like I say, we all knew how things were going to go. But even though the match card was super predictable, the theme of the night was getting the most out of each of these matches. And even though we all kind of knew what was going to happen, and that's what happened, they had the people who win in a way that was cool, and or I hate using and or in person, but and or in a way that we just didn't expect. And I'm just gonna get right into it, starting with Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton was a good start to the show. Even like I said, we knew that Randy Orton was gonna win this match, but even though this match is gonna be remembered for the two big spots that happened, which I'll get to, this was actually a pretty good match. They started hot. They got weapons involved. They got tables, ladders, and chairs. Oh my, and all that. But of course, the 2 spots that everyone's talking about, going into it in the feud, we all saw when Randy Orton stuck his finger in the ear hole where Jeff Hardy puts his plugs in his earrings, and is disgusting. And Randy Orton looked like he was gonna get a weapon from under the ring, but he opened up a little toolbox and grabbed a screwdriver and just took the screwdriver, stuck it in the ear hole, and started twisting it. And I'm cringing just thinking about it. That was fucking nasty. If you haven't seen it, just watch it. It's nasty. And obviously, the last one where Jeff Hardy is fucking nuts for that swinging body splash he went for, where he climbed the ladder and it looked like he was going to do a swanton off the top of the ladder to Randy Orton through the table. But he grabbed the one of the support beams across the top of the cell and was swinging himself. And honestly, even though it was crazy as it was, I thought he was going to swing and try to do like a front flip swanton bomb. But nope. Nope, he essentially dropped all the way from the top of the cell through the table, and Randy Orton, keeping his heel tactics alive, just went for the cover, got the win. And like I said, it was just a nuts, but a good start to the show. Hopefully Jeff Hardy's okay. Please, Jeff Hardy, go have a spa day or something and recover, because that was crazy. Then we had Becky Lynch and Charlotte, who had a really good match. And I know some people don't like the ending, and that's also another theme, was sort of contrived endings. But I thought it was great. And now Becky Lynch is the new SmackDown Women's Champ. She's the champion again. And it was great. It happened when Charlotte hit a spear on Becky, but she continued the momentum and rolled her over into a cover that Charlotte didn't see coming, and it was a perfectly done, where it was sneaky enough to play into Becky Lynch's heel, I'm air quoting her heel character, but it wasn't sneaky. It wasn't too sneaky where it was like a dirty pin where she rolled her over and pulled the tights or got her feet over or anything, to be a dirty pin, so that the Smarks will like her still too, where it's like, oh, okay, like now they're not having to be a full-on super heel, because that would have been chicken shit. And it also keeps the feud going. It keeps the feud going, because it wasn't a full-on clean win, like, you know, where Becky got the disarmer or hit a Bexploder into the whatever kind of thing, and you know, so it keeps the feud going. And then on top of that, you know, Charlotte was like, all right, try to be a good competitor and shake Becky's hand, but all Becky Lynch said was, nah, fam, I'm good. We're good, love, enjoy, and just raised the belt in her face and took off. So that was great. I loved it. And you know, next we had the Raw tag team match between Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre versus the other two guys in the Shield, Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. And it was as great as a match as you'd expect from all four guys. Great, you know, spots, and it was a lot of the same spots that we've seen from these guys. And even though we keep seeing them over and over again, they just don't get old. That's how good these guys are. And really cool finish, I thought. Where, you know, when Seth Rollins does his superplex spot, where he hits the superplex and then keeps it going and rolls it into the regular suplex or a Falcon Arrow, but as he was going for the second suplex or the Falcon Arrow, just Drew McIntyre came out of nowhere and hit Rollins with a perfectly timed Claymore kick, knocked him out. And Dolph Ziggler was a legal man, so he threw Dolph Ziggler on top of Seth Rollins. 1, 2, 3. They retained the belt. Like I said, great match, great finish. And I mentioned it before, where I think that Drew McIntyre has just superstar, like legit superstar written all over him. And I love how the WWE is booking him right now, gradually moving him along, letting the WWE fans and the WWE universe just get little tastes of Drew McIntyre, let him gradually build and gradually unleashing him little by little, showing how good he is. And like I said, this is the perfect situation for him. And like I said, hopefully by next year he'll be on a singles run and he'll be just one of the hottest dudes in the company. I swear, he's just got it. Then we had the WWE Championship match, which I know a lot of people are a little upset about, but being nitpicky about it, where, you know, of course it was a great match. We're going to have a great match anytime it's just Samoa Joe and AJ Styles, but they felt that this match should have been in the cell based on how personal of a feud it's been. You know, just Samoa Joe taking shots at his family, telling him that he's gonna you know, essentially sleep with his wife and be the new daddy to his daughter, and all that stuff. And it felt like it should have, one, been in the cell, and two, it should have just been more of a sort of brawl, like what we got at the end of the SummerSlam match. But it was still a good match, wrestling match, as you know, like I said, it's, you know, which is we've come to expect from AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. And I just think everyone thought that we were gonna get more, but like I said, just like the Becky and Charlotte match, another great way to end the match, to keep the feud going and the heat going. Especially, I didn't notice it at first, but especially with the backstage segment where the finish of the match was Samoa Joe locked in the Coquina Clutch on AJ Styles, and he was about to, and then as soon as he, when he has the Coquina Clutch and he drops down and goes to wraps his legs around you like a snake, whatever. But as soon as Samoa Joe dropped down, AJ Styles continued to rolled his momentum over and rolled over, and then actually had Samoa Joe's shoulders on the mat without him knowing, and the referee, that's how the pin was. That's what the pin was, and he pinned him. But as they showed in a replay later on backstage, AJ Styles was actually tapping. I don't think he fully realized and whatever, but he actually tapped. So again, a little contrived, a little bit, but like I said, it was a great way to keep the heat going, a great way to keep the feud going, keeps the belt on AJ, and like I said, I'm just wondering where we're gonna get the blow off match and all that stuff. But yeah, it was great. I thought it was great. And they're gonna get a rematch, no disqualification, all that stuff, I guess, at Superstar, the Super Showdown. I don't know if they're gonna switch the belts there or whatever, but like I said, it's I hope this match and this feud continues to goes on forever, because like I said, those guys are just great. Then we had Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella versus Miz and Maurice, which was a match that happened, sure. Miz and Maurice got the win. Maurice pulled the tights on Brie Bella. Kind of like what you expected. So I'm sure this feud is going to continue, but I hope it can end sooner rather than later. So yeah, that happened. Then of the women's Raw Women's title, Ronda Rousey and Alexa Bliss, despite being such a contrived, stipulations and all that stuff, where Ronda had injured ribs, and Alexa Bliss was just targeting the ribs the whole time. They actually executed the plan and the storytelling about as well as you could have. Ronda really played it up. She sold very well, as we've grown to see. She played it up really well and all that, and obviously she was going to get the win. She had a great babyface comeback at the end. Made Alexa Bliss tap again to the arm bar. Didn't break her arm this time, but which is great and all, but now I'm just not sure what's next for Ronda Rousey and the Raw Women's title picture as a whole. I don't know what's next. I don't know, because they've done it where they've got this unstoppable force that has the belt now, and who knows, maybe they do the Natalya angle where they'd have Natalya turn on her and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe they bring Nia Jax. That's ultimately what it comes down to. It's gonna have to be Ronda Rousey and Nia Jax, just because Ronda is the baddest woman on the planet, and Nia Jax is arguably the biggest. And so, like I said, that's eventually what it seems like it's gonna happen. I just don't know when or how they're gonna do it. But finally, the main event. Now I know, again, another kind of but contrived finish in this one. But what a freaking main event. And like I said, this went exactly how you thought it was going to go. The match was going exactly how you thought it was going to go. You had, Braun and Roman doing the big bruiser moves, doing their big spots and just hard-hitting offense. Then they got the weapons involved. There was chair shots, DDT on the chair. Strowman had brought the steps in and was just smashing Roman with them. Close finishers with that, exchanged finishers, and all that. And then, of course, like we all thought, Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre came out to try and stop Roman Reigns when he looked like he was getting a little bit more momentum. Then Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose came out to stop them. And they were, fighting outside, and they ended up on top of the cell. I know it's a little silly, but, they ended up on top of the cell like he kind of all thought they would, and, they were all going at it. Dean Ambrose had a kendo stick up there doing stuff, and there were a couple times where I thought that the cell roof was going to fall in, but luckily it didn't. Nobody got really hurt. They were doing that, but then, Dolph was trying to come back down. Rollins chased him, and they were both hanging on the thing, and they're beating and hitting each other, and eventually they both hit each other at the same time, and both fell down and crashed through the announce tables at the same time. And it was crazy. Like, it was just crazy chaos going on, and all of that was just a diversion to get your mind off what happened in the ring, because out of nowhere, Brock Lesnar's music hits, and everyone goes nuts. He comes down, kicked the cell door in. Obviously, it was gimmicked for that to happen, but kicked the cell door and looked crazy. And in an impressive, amazing use of improvisation, the cell, you have to just see it. The cell door, he kicked it in, and it just kind of, the way it went in, it didn't like fly around or anything. It kicked in, and it was kind of resting on the like the apron and the bottom rope or something like that. If you saw it, it was kind of like angled like a ramp. And as it did that, Brock Lesnar just climbed up the door as it just kind of laid there, and then jumped into the ring. You have to see it. Just go see it. It was crazy. Climbed into the ring on the cell door that he just kicked in like a fucking badass, and just starts wreaking havoc. Grabbing, there was a big table spot in the match earlier, and he just grabbed fragments of that table and started beating the living hell out of Braun Strowman. He beat the shit out of Roman Reigns. He was just causing all kinds of crazy stuff. Nailed Braun Strowman with an F5. Then he hit Roman Reigns with an F5 that landed on top of Braun Strowman, and just beat him up a little more. Then Paul Heyman was there, obviously, and pulled out a can of mace and started macing and hit Mick Foley with mace, and that that knocked Mick Foley out of commission. So they had to bring in a new referee. The referee got into the ring as Brock Lesnar was leaving, and both the guys weren't getting up. It was a little bit of a too quick to make a judgment kind of thing, obviously, but ultimately he just said that they can't continue, which is weird since it's a Hell in a Cell match and there's no disqualification or anything like that. But he called off the match, and we went off the air with both the guys in the ring, just laid out, not without anything to do. And so many questions, but look, in a good way. It was a great, and even though that was probably the best no finish or no contest finish that I can probably ever remember. Like I said, Brock Lesnar, we all know he's going to UFC, or we're all about 99% sure he's going to the UFC. We know that because Bearded Brock came out, and Bearded Brock is the best Brock, and that's when he's getting ready, and his training is, getting pretty serious. We know, as we've seen in the past with UFC, yeah, so he's going. Pretty sure he's going to the UFC, but then what is it? Does this mean he's still going to stick around after his UFC fight and all that stuff? And what is it? Because he obviously Braun Strowman cashed in, so now we know where this is going to go. Obviously, we just don't know how it's going to happen. But Braun Strowman's going to come out on Monday, and he's going to be pissed that Brock Lesnar cost him his title shot. So then maybe he's gonna want a one-on-one match with Brock to or something, or maybe it's gonna be a triple threat because Brock still technically has to get a rematch, his rematch clause. There's a lot of stuff that's gonna happen, but it should be good. I wouldn't be mad at a Braun Strowman, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns triple threat match. That would be pretty freaking insane. And like I said, it was just a great night of wrestling. A lot better than everybody expected. Like I said, even though it went exactly how everyone thought it would, it just happened in a way that nobody saw coming in. It was great. And yeah, it was overall a great success, and probably one of the better pay-per-views this year. Possibly one of the best. As good as SummerSlam was, this was just as good. And like I said, a lot of good pay-per-views this year from WWE. Even though they had the really, really bad one in Backlash, they really bounced back off that and have had some great wrestling so far, at least on the pay-per-view side of things. So yeah, I think that's about it. It was a lot to get through, so thank you for sticking around. But like I said, we did it, and we made it. And like I said, it was just a great weekend for sports. And like I said, there's a lot going on, and I'm glad we made it through it. And so, like always, everybody, thank you guys for listening. Thanks for sticking around. This was a long one, I know. It was a doozy, and but like always, if you like what you heard, make sure that you guys subscribe and do all that shit that you do, the YouTuber shit. On SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, everywhere you listen to podcasts, I'm there. Even those random ones, like if you just search Brown Mamba Radio, you'll find it. And also follow along on the socials: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, all that stuff. Follow along Brown Mamba Radio, Brown Mamba, JXEKSXNNN. That's 3 N's. And shout out to the blog boys. Everything's available on the blog. I know I said I was going to fix it, but I had to work all weekend, so I haven't got a chance to come around to fixing the old site there. But yeah, again, like I said, crazy weekend. Like I said, I'm definitely going to be tuning into Raw to find out what happened to Raw and SmackDown this week, to find out the aftermath of Hell in a Cell. Definitely going to be tuning in to seeing what's next for Triple G and Canelo. Definitely going to be tuning in to see how the Dodgers do. Like I said, huge series for them. I cannot stress it enough. Like I said, gonna have to see, the fallout from, all the NFL action that happened in week 2. And also gonna watch the game tonight. I've got I think I picked the Bears, if I remember correctly. So like I said, hopefully they pick Go Bears, the Bears. So we'll see about that. But like I said, that's gonna do it for me today. Again, thank you guys for listening. Go Dodgers, go Dodgers. And I'll see you guys at Chavez Ravine sometime this week. Not sure when, but I will see you guys there. And like always, don't just have a good week, make it a good week. Drink more water. Even though it's starting to cool down, health is still well. So drink more water, and please be kind to each other, because it's easy to be nice. We'll see you guys on Friday. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace.